Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today we find ourselves as Viking clans seeking glory in favor of the gods. Over 3 eras, you'll be using your leaders that are the best at building, harvesting, exploring, and battling. You'll be raiding and conquering islands with settlers, building boats and temples to gain influence, and battling for the favor of the gods. Tiny Epic Vikings is a runic game of island raiding for 1 to 4 players. It takes about an hour to play, is for ages 14 and up, and published by Gamelin Games. Now it's coming to Kickstarter May 10th, so I'm going to show you how the game works, and I'll see you on the other side. This is a Kickstarter preview, so all the art and components you see here are not final, they're prototypes. To see all the most up-to-date art and components, check the Kickstarter link in the description of this video. Now, Tiny Epic Vikings comes with an actual fold-out board, and it's double-sided. This is for 1 to 3 players. The backside is 4 players that has more islands on them. Now in this game, there's only 2 ways to score points, and all of it is done at the end of the game. But over the course of the game, you're going to be moving your boats around, going into ports of islands. You're going to be putting settlers on those islands. And again, these components are prototype. They're actually going to be cool looking Viking tokens, and the boats look a lot cooler, so check out that Kickstarter page. But as you begin to get the most control of an island, you'll be able to take the corresponding rune of that. Now there's 3 different types of runes noted by both the letter and the color of those, blue, pink, and orange here, and the letters of N, C, and F, but they also correspond with one of the 3 different Viking gods for this game, and there's plenty of these. You'll use 3 of them each game, so each game will feel a little bit different. And as players gather those runes or steal them from other players, it's going to be increasing the fury of that specific god tied to that rune. And that's important because one of the main ways to score at the end of the game is by the runes that you've collected from the islands. And you'll get a certain amount of points for each of these, whether the god that is tied to this rune is in 1st place, 2nd place, or 3rd place from that fury I just showed. And we'll talk about how you make that fury go up later. But if that god that had the pink rune tied to it is in 1st place, the most fury at the end of the game, each of my pink runes like this is going to be worth 6 points. Whatever Viking's in 2nd place, that colored rune is going to be worth 5 points, and whoever's in last place of the different fury is going to be getting 4 points for that colored rune. But as I'll show you later, I have this rune now, but I probably won't keep it for the whole game. These are going to be moving around because people are going to be battling over islands for the entire game. The other main way to get points at the end of the game is, again, from runes, but from favor cards. There's a certain amount of these placed out depending on the amount of players. You're going to be battling over these. I'll show you how this works later. And even when you win these will actually be secret. But at the end of the game, you'll be flipping them up, and for the favor cards you have, again, all has to do with the fury of the different gods. Whichever god is in 1st, 2nd, 3rd place, the runes on those favor cards are going to be worth a certain amount of points. Working the same way here, except it has to do with the favor cards and the points are less. But that's it. That's all how you score, and it's all at the end of the game. So now that you know what you're trying to do to win the game, let's talk about how the game works. The game is played over 3 different eras, and each era is going to go through some different phases. First, you'll be getting a certain amount of cards depending on which era it is. 4 in the 1st round, you'll be getting these cards and you're going to be drafting them in clockwise order. And the next round, you'll be doing it in the other order, but you're going to be getting these cards, and then you're going to be performing actions, and then you'll do some cleanup. So each player is going to receive 4 cards at the beginning of the 1st era. You're secretly going to look at them. Other players would not be able to see these, and you're going to decide which one you're going to keep. So you'll keep one of these and you'll pass the rest of them to the player to your left, and you'll keep doing this until you have basically drafted 4 cards. Now at the beginning of the game, players are also going to be able to put their boats out in a sort of reverse turn order to where they want to start one of their boats. And now after we've drafted, we're going to begin to perform actions. So when you're trying to perform an action, you'll play a card. Sometimes you'll play it face down if you're going to battle, but here we're going to play it face up. When you play it face up, you'll take this action, and these actions do all sorts of different things. Like this allows us to sail our boat up to 3. And that allows you to sail 1 single boat up to 3 spots. Now here I'm here. Now what I can do is go into this spot, which is 1, 2, 3 maybe, or you go 1, 2, 3. But you can also go into these ports, which is what I'm going to do here. So here I'm just going to go 1 right into this port. Now if I'm in a port, it costs me 1 movement to come out, and then I can continue moving. So I go up to 3. I'm just going to move this 1, which is right into this port here. And now once I dock here, I have the option of putting settlers on that island. Now, because I had a sale of 3, I can deploy up to 3 settlers. Now, to do so, they're all right here, and they're each going to cost me 1 food. Now, food, this is a white circle, so this is, and these are going to be look a lot nicer. Again, check it out. They'll have the icons on here and stuff. I have 2 of these, so I can go 1, 2, and I can put 2 settlers out there. Now, as soon as I have either settlers on an island or a temple, which we'll show you about building buildings later, you now, if you have the most control, you will take this rune. This is known as having boots on the ground there. If I had just the boats there and no settlers or no buildings, nothing actually on the ground on the island, I wouldn't basically be able to take this. But as soon as I have boots on the ground, if I have the most influence here, I'll get it. Now I do because there's no one else there, but I would take this. And again, temporarily, I have this. Again, this is the main way to score at the end, is having runes. And then remember, if this one has the Viking god has the most fury, this will be worth 6 points at the end. Now, each of the god's fury starts at 0, but as soon as someone takes one of those runes from the island or from another player, it's going to move up. So this one is currently in the lead because it has 1, and the other Viking gods there have 0. Now let's talk about influence. Each of the settlers are going to give you 1, and the boat, if it's docked to an island, will give you 2. A boat out in the sea doesn't do you anything. So I have a boat there, which is 2, and I had 2 settlers. So I have 2, 3, 4. I have 4 influence. In order for someone to take this from me, they would need to have boots on the ground of that island and have more than 4 influence to steal that from me. Because let's say now it's the next player's turn, and they brought their boat there, and they dropped 3 settlers there. They would have 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 2, 3, 4. They have boots on the ground, they have the most influence. They would now steal this from me, and now they would have it. Now, often this early in the game, they're probably gonna do something else that costs less to get a rune, but that's how runes will get taken from each other when you control an island or take control from someone else. And if that happen, again, anytime someone takes a rune from a player or an island, that god's fury is gonna go up. So let's say it went around the player's turns, it came back to me, and I play another card face up because I want to take this action. This allows me to move a settler through the dotted lines to another island. It allows me to do it once. So I would be able to move a settler from here, from this island, follow in this line, 1 to here. Now look, I have boots on the ground and I have the most influence, so I would take this and the orange God's Fury would go up 1. Now if I had more than 1, meaning this, instead of saying this being 1, maybe if it was 2, you can move the same one twice or 2 different ones once. You have more flexibility than when moving the boats. Let's say it comes back to us after everyone's taken a turn, and I go like this, and I'm gonna do the action. This is going to allow me to build. Now, if I wanna build a boat, it depends which one. If it's the first one, it costs me just 2 wood, which is right here. So I'd go 1, 2, and I would build a boat. After that one, I'm also going to build, the next time I build one, it's gonna be 3, and the next one I'm gonna build one gets 4, so it gets more costly to build boats. Now you can put those boats basically adjacent to anywhere where you have pieces, essentially. So here, I'll just put it like right there in the fjord there, always going in the fjords. Now the other possible thing I could have done when I built is I could have built a temple, and it cost a lot. 5 wood for the first one, 7 for the second. However, those ones give me 4 influence. So that's how you really want to try to shore up islands, is get those. We'll talk a little bit more what happens when you build these as well a little bit later. So for my last action of the round, because in the first round you have 4 actions, 4 cards, I'm going to do this, and let's say I sail 2. Now at the beginning of the game, certain villages are placed in ports, okay? Now when you come into here, I could go to this port, or I could come in here and I could raid this village. Now raiding a village costs a certain amount depending on which area you're in. In the first area, it's 1 steel, second it's 2, and third it's 3. So to do that, I would reduce the steel by 2, and I can raid that village. Now this village can be used after you play a card. You can play one village that you've raided in a certain spot. You can either pick one of the spots here on this map, and in doing so, getting the actions that we've already talked about, like moving a settler, sailing, building, and we'll talk about harvesting in just a moment. However, this is capped out as the number of players. So if we're playing with 3 players, and 3 players have placed villages here after they've raided them, you can't take that action anymore. Meaning you can't raid villages and take that extra action. But another place you could go is you could go here and raise the fury of this one too. Raising that fury because maybe I'm doing and concentrating mostly on these runes, and I want these ones to be worth the most points at the end, so I might be pushing to get these to go up. And doing this either for the action or gaining the fury is known as dedicating a village. Now up to this point we've just been doing the main action, but you may have noticed that there's some arrows here. Now these are multi-use cards, and this is the in my opinion, the coolest part of the game is chaining together different actions. Because I just took this one, and it also says if I've taken this action and I have 2 F runes in either the cards I've played or in a combination of the ones that I have here. In this case, I've already played this and this, so I fulfill this, I now would gain 3 steel. So even though that cost me 2 steel to get it, I knew I was okay because I had already played these 2 cards. So when you draft the cards at the beginning of the round, you're constantly thinking about, ooh, I want to play this, in this order this, I want to do this, then this, because this will trigger this, and you're setting yourself up to try to do as many of these extra actions as possible, and it's, for me, the most clever part of this design. Now let's say you had played this card for your last and you harvested. Now this allows you to harvest up to any 4 resources. So we're doing pretty good on steel, but let's say we go like 1, 2, 3, 4. You go evenly, but you could do it split up any way you want, any 4. However, remember, as you build boats, you're gonna get more. So I'm actually gonna get +1 food. If I had built 2 boats, I'd get +2 food, and if I had built 3 boats, I would have gotten +3 food. Also, as you build temples, when you harvest, you'll get any 1 single resource. So as you build things, you're gonna be doing better when you harvest. Now, we had done this for our 4th card, and this, we don't have any cards here that have sea, but we do have a sea rune, so this counts. So now we're able to take 1 settler and move it to an adjacent island following the rules I showed earlier. So you can use all your runes and your cards, and that's very important because you might be planning on doing something, taking over an island, getting this, to then now play a card that allows you to do something later with these, but then people might be taking things from you and this and that, so you're trying to have the best plan, and it might get messed up, but that's the fun of the game. Now, instead of doing that, let's talk about the last thing you can do. Instead of playing a card face up and taking the action, you can place it face down and start a battle. Now, if someone's already started a battle, meaning they have a face down card, when it comes to you, if you place a face down card, you're not starting a battle, you're joining the battle that they started. Nobody knows what Viking you have here, and it's going to depend because this top one is the battle strength of that Viking, and that nobody knows what that is. Now, if you remember at the beginning of the game, there were a certain amount of favorite cards placed here depending on the amount of players. Now, these, again, are favorite cards that you're trying to win, and battling is how you do it. Because if you have these at the end of the game, these are going to be worth a certain amount of favorite runes, and those are going to be getting you points depending on how high these specific gods are on the Fury versus the other ones, remember. So you're trying to win these. This is one of the main ways to get points at the end of the game. Now, when you battle, the person that starts the battle has to pick one of the cards on the end of the 2 rows. So if these ones have 2 runes, they're probably going to be fought over even more. So let's say they took this one. They place it by the error mat, letting everyone know what the battle is for. Now, when it gets back to the player who played this card, the first one who started the battle, then players are going to flip it up. Anyone that has a card will flip their card up, and we're going to see who wins the battle. Some of them require steel. Like this one requires me to spend a steel in order to use the 10 strength. If I don't have the steel, basically that leader does not even battle at all. Now, if you've won, you'll get to take this, but you'll also get the reward. So this is going to be 2 wood and 1 steel, but we also have 1 of each of these runes from the favorite cards. Remembering, these are going to be worth points at the end of the game, depending on where they are on the Fury track. Now that card will actually go face down in the spot just above your mat because this is secret now, so other players are going to kind of remember what cards you got because, again, you're fighting to see who's going for what. Now, if you ever get more than 3, you have to discard 1, put it back in the row on the end, and it can be, battled for again later. But you're collecting these again for that scoring. But possibly even more interesting when you lose a battle. Because losing a battle is a great honor, as the fallen leader will go to Valhalla. Now, let's say the player that lost played this card. It was a 7, mine was a 10, that's why they lost. But they used the card that had this rune on it, which matches this Viking god, because that's the color of its track here. So a couple of interesting things happen. Number 1 is they're going to gain the benefit of the special ability of that god. In this case, it's collecting any 4 resources of your choice. But then it's another way to get the Fury of 1 up. And some of the other abilities for some of the other Viking gods might be sail each of your boats up to 2 times, and if they dock, you can't raid them, but you can deploy settlers. Or move 1 of your settlers from your mat or an island to any island of your choice. So these are very powerful tactical moves that you might just fight and purposely lose because you don't have anything better for a specific other card to do. But hey, you know what? I'll move the Fury up on someone that I want and I'll get a special ability. So it's a very tactical part of the game. Now, if you are in a battle and nobody else joins the battle, you'll end up actually fighting against someone off the top of the deck anyway, so it's not like a sure thing. Now, again, after everyone's taken all their actions, we'll go through a little cleanup stage, but then we're going to go to the next era. Where the next era, you're going to get 5 cards, and you're going to draft the cards counterclockwise. Pretty much everything's the same, except raiding villages is 2. Then after that's done, again, it scales up to 6 cards in the last round, passing back clockwise, and raiding villages is even more expensive. Now, once all these 6 actions in the last era is over, that is when we're going to look and see which god is in first, second, third place for Fury. So let's say it goes pink, then blue, then orange. So I've placed them here in that order, pink, then blue, then orange. So everyone's going to look at their runes again and say, here, I have one of these. This is going to be at 6 points because it's in first place of Fury. This one's in second place, 5 points. So between these two, I have 11. Then players are going to flip over their favorite cards and going to do the same thing, but for these points because this is the cards. So this pink one's going to be worth 4, this blue one's going to be worth 3, and these 2 orange ones are going to be worth 2. So in this case, I have 21 points. Not great, but that's how it works. Whoever has the most points at the end is the winner. And here are some other Viking gods, but keep your eye on the Kickstarter page to see which ones are available in the game. Well, there you have tiny epic Vikings, and as I showed in the overview, it uses multi-use cards, a clever action selection mechanism chaining together earlier actions, confrontational area control, and the intrigue of secret battle leaders. Now, if you'd like to see all the most up-to-date art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me right in the description of this video. That one's going to take you directly to the Kickstarter project page, and I'm sure that Gamelin Games would love your support.